Today, the 11th?
It is.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Welcome to the January 11th, 2018, first meeting of the year, Penfield Planning Board. Thanks for tuning in. Allison, would you call the roll, please?
Hetzke?
Here.
Bastian?
Here.
Knauer?
Here.
Burton?
Here.
Nersinger?
Here.
O'Connor?
Here.
Weissar?
Here.
December 14th.
Alrighty. We have minutes from December 14th. We could, hopefully everybody was able to review them.
They
And
have been
Maybe-
reviewed. I make a motion to approve.
all right, got a second?
I'll second.
Hetzke?
Aye.
Bastian?
Stay.
Burton?
Aye.
Knauer?
Aye.
All right, I will turn this over to Mr. Nersinger for our first table item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate that. No action for tonight on the Bayview Landing project. No updates at this time. They are working with the town board on a few other matters though at the time right now. So
Okay.
until we hear more, we'll move on to our action items for the evening. We do have a tabled matter from the last meeting regarding the McDonald's at 2191 Penfield Road.
Okay.
We received...
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I'll be recusing myself from
Yes,
this.
sorry
All right.
about that. Thank you.
Thank you for the notification, Mr. Burton.
So we have received a updated rendering that's before you tonight. It's we got a printout from the applicants. They're here in the audience this evening. Mike pulled it up on the projector here. What we're seeing on this new revised color rendering is the biggest change, I would say, is addressing the board's comments about more recognition, more design work on the drive-through side of the building that faces Penfield Road. They've added a brand wall with the McDonald's logo at the one side, at the one end of the building, and they've relocated the lettering of McDonald's from the 250 side of the building, and Mike's showing the two differences where we have the face that goes to 250 is now just a logo. McDonald's lettering has moved to the Penfield Road side, which is a wider expanse of the building, and adds a couple more elements to it. The colors are the same. The materials are the same. They have not changed. We do have those samples again if you want to invite Randy up to the table.
Just a correction on that, exact materials have changed because we added the tile to the
I stand
brand walls,
corrected.
which is this. But as Zach correctly stated, the colors are the same
And the tile where?
on the three brand walls, the three
Okay.
brand walls that have the logo on it. And also around the drive-through windows, we've added the tile. Before that was just painted a different color. So, and as he stated, we've moved the McDonald's fascia sign from the 250 side to the Penfield Road side. We did appear in front of the zoning board asking for a variance for that signage. We were tabled. One reason they wanted to see what this board was going to decide on. And secondly, wanted us to do a little more due diligence about other businesses with that number of signs. I was frank with them in that if we are to reduce signage, the first sign that will be given up would be the McDonald's word mark sign that was moved to the drive-through side of the building. McDonald's likes to have the brand walls with the logo on it. So we've got a little work to do there, and then we'll be going back to the zoning board. But just so a refresher, this is the panel that runs along the top of the parapet wall on three sides. Isn't on the back, but on the three sides. This is there's a couple different color samples here. If anybody wants to look at that.
They're the same.
The same, yeah. So
Yeah, that contrast.
Looking for it. You can go to Bill. We've seen you. That's good. That's good. Then your eyes are working. Thank you, Randy.
Thanks. Thoughts?
I can't remember, does the freestanding sign change?
Not with this application,
Not
no.
with this application, okay.
Bill?
Can you speak up?
Yeah, talk louder, please. I can't
I don't
hear.
have any problem with it, I'm okay with it.
You're okay with it?
Yeah, I think it looks fine.
You think it looks fine?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'll yield to your opinions. I think they could do a nicer job, but it's better than what they came in with before, last time. But there's some nice looking McDonald's, and this is like,
What would you have to do?
this is a pretty square structure. There's a lot of just right angles. A lot of the new ones have a lot more curved arcs and arches and seemingly more interesting elements. You know, from ones on Lyle Ave in the city to gates to,
I think what you're referring to is the roof cap, what they were called the roof cap element, which is the architectural element that's along the front facade.
Yeah.
They do those on rebuilds. They are not doing those on remodels. It's just a different branding design. And there's actually nowheres to on a new build, rebuild. The front facade is just slightly different, where there's actually a place to set that. On here, there's really, with the design, there is no place to put that. But that's really I mean, but whether it's a new build or this, they're a square. I mean, there's not, that feature is the only feature that's different here. And in some cases, we've actually had that considered signage, and it's worked against us. We'll argue that point, but
okay. So, if you guys think it's all right, then I guess it's all right. Somebody want to move
Make a motion?
Yeah, I'll
to
second.
approve it?
Hetzke,
Aye.
Bastian,
Aye.
Canower,
Aye.
thank you.
Thanks,
Sure.
Randy.
We'll welcome Mr. Burton back to the table.
Would you like to go to Arena in one of those folders? Probably the other one. So our second action item of the evening is for a proposed or a request for a re-subdivision of property to shift the property line at the Arena property, which the board recently heard as a public hearing item, to subdivide a 2-acre parcel at the front on Sweets Corners Road. Sorry, I should say this is 1822, 1848 Sweets Corners Road, way at the east side of town. Board recently, as Mike's highlighting on the map, approved a subdivision to create that lot at the front. The owner has now agreed to purchase the land from 1848 Sweets Corners Road, which he's highlighting, and there's the dashed line that's showing the elimination of a property line, swinging it down, which is to the south.
To the east.
Yeah, he's picking up land to the east and drawing a new property line where Mike's highlighting it now to create just
The
about a
southern
5-acre
border?
parcel. Sorry?
The southern border.
Yes. Yep. And it would create a 5-acre parcel at the front remaining and merge 7 acres into Mr. Arena's property. That is at 1822 Sweets Corners. So lot line shift at the end of the day, same number of parcels, just picking up acreage.
On 1822, how many structures are on there?
We have-
I'm sorry, not on 1822, on the purchase.
No
on the
structures.
purchase piece.
No structures.
Oh, no structures.
Yep.
Okay.
It's just, those are woods and fields at this time.
I'm on Sweets Corners, the remaining, or was that not part of, it's not not a subdivide?
Nope, we're just...
That's not part of it.
Okay,
Yeah, you should probably use my own. This was the original parcel.
okay, it was just,
This
that was
long
already
piece.
parceled.
Yep,
Okay.
this is already a parcel, so the line that was here that's dotted
Yeah,
is swinging down here so that this could be transferred
okay.
to Arena. Sorry, I should
Gotcha.
have explained that better. The original parcel is that way.
That's the only thing that was before us on this.
Yep, yep, a resub.
Anybody have an issue?
No.
Somebody want to move it?
I'll move it.
Second?
Hetzke,
Aye.
Bastian,
Aye.
Burton,
Aye.
Canower,
Aye.
Gia.
Okay.
Couple new business items to take care of before we go into our public hearing. The first is we received a site plan approval extension request from Dr. Ugia at 2100 Penfield Road, a project that was recently approved as a modified site plan in December of 2016. 1 year has come and gone, and at this time they're required to ask for extension to the approval if they continue to move forward. I spoke with Dr. Gia, and she is moving forward. She has received her financing that she needs for the project and is working on submitting the building plans relatively soon to start construction this year. So the request is in. Typically the board does a 90-day, and that can be re-upped every 90 days for an extension. Other times the board has granted 180 days or a year. But typically it's 90, and I'll leave it up to the board how you feel is appropriate.
Last couple of times we had something like this, we gave them 6 months. No sense
I
in
have
bringing
no,
it back
I
in
have no
3
issue with
months.
that.
When does it expire now?
It expired in December.
December.
So this is the next available meeting that we could get the request into the board to discuss
I'd
it.
be in favor of giving her 6 months.
Get it into the spring, so.
That's my thought as well.
Yep.
Give her time that we didn't have to readdress this in the spring as the building permits get reviewed and potentially approved and site work starts.
So 180 days from today, basically. Somebody want to move it?
I'll move to grant the extension of 180 days.
Got a second?
I'll second.
Hetzke,
Aye.
Bastian,
Aye.
Burton,
Aye.
Canower,
Aye.
Very good.
All right.
Thank you very much. We'll send a letter to Dr. Ugia with the 180 days that was granted.
Okay.
The last item is kind of an educational piece for the board. It's not a request. This is a project that has finally come to life. Well, was completed and
District.
is now a new zoning district for the town. It's our mixed-use district. In November, the town board passed out the legislation to create the mixed-use district. It's located on Route 250. There we go. Mike's pulling it up on the map here. Highlighted in blue on the map is the district. It goes from around the east side Y at the southern edge, the southern limits of the district, up to the southern edge of Penfield Center Road. And basically every property that fronts on...
Just a hair.
Yeah, that's impossible. Every property that fronts...
Sangster can do it.
We could put, there's maps in the manual that's been handed out tonight too, but basically every property that fronts on 250 is included in the mixed-use district. There are a couple that are beyond to the... Focus, please. Guy who sat on the committees. I know you've heard it all. So yes, the zoning district's in play now. We have a mixed-use development manual that's available to all developers, engineers, architects who will be submitting projects. I'm handing that to the board tonight as another resource for you as we expect some projects to come in this year that will start out as sketch plans and have the intentions to move into preliminary final at some point. The manual spells out design standards, it gives you examples of what type of mixed-use Penfield is looking for, and then it gets into the specific zoning requirements. We've included a copy of the district ordinance at the end of the manual for your reference. So that they're both meant to work hand in hand with each other, this manual and the ordinance. It's very open in terms of an ordinance with flexibility for developers, and a lot of the,
And flexibility for us
correct.
as a board. It's our purview. We're the ones responsible for approval of these things, and we have a pretty wide range of powers in terms of what we want to see happen.
For example, setbacks. It's typically mixed use, we see a 0 setback, so that's where we start, and if the board feels there needs to be setbacks to certain things, that's where they get enforced. We do have setbacks and buffers to the surrounding residential zone properties. Those are obviously in play, but in terms of within the mixed use district and how things will come to be from project to project, obviously the idea is to have them blend together, work together, be a cohesive district and development area throughout, not just one project at a time focused on itself. They're meant to serve each other back and forth.
Yeah, I think one of the big challenges that we're going to face as a board and as a town is how do we take, how many properties are there? 38, 50, something? There's a lot of
Chunk of
individual
properties.
property owners there. They're not all going to sell at the same time, so it's not as if we're going to have one giant developer that comes in and says, hey, here's our new town center, and this is our vision for it. It's going to be this parcel is sold, then this parcel is sold, and this parcel is sold, and we want to ultimately create a district that works for the town, that's cohesive, that looks and feels good together, and that people want to go there. These mixed-use districts are happening all over the United States. One of the reasons that personally I think that this is important for Penfield is I'd love it if my kids stay here, and the millennial generation, the younger generation, is interested in living in a 2,000, 2,500 square foot house on a half acre or 3/4 acre piece of property in a vanilla subdivision like we live in. And so I think that we need to acknowledge that and be aware of it and try as best as we can to plan for it. And that's really one of the main reasons for this district.
I
My
agree
understanding.
100%. Agree 100%. For example, one of the ideas about that cohesiveness is obviously the YMCA down there is something that really drove the project. We all know that it received nearly 2 million swipes a year of those members who were coming in and out of the doors. With that type of volume of people, there's certainly opportunities for commercial development in that area, which is currently zoned a mix of residential 1 acre development or RA2.
Commercial that's ancillary to residential.
Correct. It's in a pedestrian scale commercial activities, your retail, small retail,
Pedestrian-friendly.
pedestrian-friendly restaurants, offices.
Neighborhood type.
Yep. No big box. No big box. That is explicitly written in the manual that is not allowed in this district. So, and again, what I was going to say is one of the key things is an example of that cohesiveness with all those people at the YMCA. Our vision, one of our visions for this is you could go to the YMCA, take part in whatever activity is there, do your workout, whatever it is, and on a nice day, maybe you want to take a walk up to town hall to the park back here, and you could safely do that through whatever built environment is created through those projects as they're built out. And that's something that as staff, we will meet with every developer before they come in, as we always do, and make sure that they understand that vision that the town has, that the committee had as we went through several meetings of creating this manual. And we'll keep working forward to do that. We've already had a couple meetings and we're looking to bring those in relatively soon to the board. But right now we want to take this opportunity to hand out this material, give you some soak time to look at the ordinance, and if there's questions as we go along, we have 2 weeks, we have a work session We have the opportunity to talk about it at the February meeting too, as well, in our work session. Obviously, always available to communicate to staff, email, phone call. Let us know if there's any questions as you go through it that you need some clarity on. And we're excited to do this. So,
Part of tonight is so that, you're probably all aware of it, but haven't necessarily focused on it or paid that much attention to it. And when the first application comes in, we're hoping that nobody's totally blindsided and say, whoa, wait a minute, what are you thinking about doing?
where did this come from?
So, get a chance to read it through and
I've been
probably
keeping up
discuss
with
it
this,
more.
And spent a good deal of time with Bob,
Mm-hmm.
who sat on the committee and bounced some of these things off of me, and
Yeah.
so
I mean,
I'm pretty familiar.
it's going to be a big change, but to me, it's exciting.
It's the first time we've done something like this.
We have an opportunity to do some good things. We just want to make sure that we
This
don't.
changes the flavor of the town.
Yeah.
It does in a good way, and that's what AJ said earlier about the flexibility that the manual and the ordinance offers. It gives like the developer the options and to be creative with every project, as it does the board through the approval process. So you really get to sculpt something here from what is, a farm with what's virgin soil out there. Nothing's in your way right now.
And I
It's a blank
guess
slate, it's a blank canvas, and rarely do we have these opportunities in mixed use. Usually it's redevelopment of something to repurpose a building. This is fresh start. So it's very important to get the first one right when it comes in.
right.
So we're looking forward to that.
So one of the other things is, and I don't want to just beat a dead horse, but my definition of quality of life and your definition of quality of life may be similar, but are potentially different than our kids, our grandkids' definitions of quality of life. And those visions are changing. And I just think that we need to be aware and acknowledge that and not be closed off to it. We need to be open and do it in a prudent fashion.
Fair enough.
Good? All right.
that it?
Quick reset. That's all I have.
All right. I guess we will recess until the public hearing. Don't change that dial. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the January 11th, 2018 meeting of the Penfield Planning Board. We'll begin this meeting with a Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you everyone for coming. We have one item on the agenda today, and I guess we will get right to it. Zach, please read our application.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Application number 1, Costich Engineering, 217 Lake Avenue, Rochester, New York, 14608, on behalf of 1930 Empire Boulevard Holdings, LLC, requests under Chapter 250, Article 12-12.2 of the Code of the Town of Penfield for preliminary final site plan approval and to construct a 6,000 square foot commercial building on 0.92 acre property located at 1930 Empire Boulevard. The property is now or formerly owned by 1930 Empire Boulevard Holdings, LLC, and zoned GB. Application number 18P-0001, SBL number 093.02-1-19. All yours, Paul.
Thanks, Zach. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Paul Colucci with the DeMarco Group, here tonight to discuss the application at 1930 Empire Boulevard. It's nice to see everybody. It's been a little while since I've been in here. You'll recall that this parcel was formerly occupied by the Beal Cafe. We acquired the property approximately 2.5 years ago. The building has since been raised and the lot is currently vacant. The proposal that we have before you tonight is for a 6,000 square foot multi-tenant building. We have a lease with our primary tenant, which will be Verizon Wireless, a Verizon store. The other half of the building will be determined. We will lease that. It will be a similar type use. The property, as Zach mentioned, is zoned general business. It's just under an acre, 0.92 acres. We will be before the zoning board at their next meeting requesting a side yard setback to the north. 20 feet is required. We are 17.7 feet, so we're requesting a 2.3 foot variance for the side yard. The previous building had improvements that were, the building was on the southern part of the property, and the Beal Cafe actually, prior to us raising it, had encroachments further into the side yard than what we're proposing on the north. The reason that we're situating the building as such, if you'll recall or familiar with the plaza, there's a main drive lane that runs east-west through the plaza. We actually have two of them when we did the Chili's last year.
Pick up the hand.
Told you, don't go for a walk.
When we did the Chili's a couple years ago, the approvals for that, we aligned their entrance with the northerly drive
Oh,
lane that runs
hey, Paul.
east-west.
It's turned off.
Isn't it flashing green? Do you have a green light? You hear me, Brian? It's got a green light.
It's green.
Sure.
Okay. So we had a northerly drive that runs east-west through the property, and then we have a southerly one, and we've set this up as a grid through the Baytown Plaza. This relocated driveway entrance will be moved southerly approximately 20 to 30 feet to align with the southerly east-west drive aisle that runs through the plaza. The building, as I said, situated to the north, will house 41 parking spaces on the property. That's in excess of the 30 that are required by code. We have pedestrian connectivity, as you can see on the detailed site plan, sidewalk that comes off of Empire Boulevard. We recently, when we did the redevelopment of the plaza, built those sidewalks along the east side of Empire Boulevard. We are bringing a sidewalk into the site across the front of the building, and then it jogs slightly to the north, and then a connection so that it has pedestrian connectivity to the extensive sidewalk network that's within the plaza. The utilities will be accessed off of Empire Boulevard, sanitary, connecting to the existing sanitary lateral. Water will come off of the east side, off of a 16-inch transmission main that we relocated through the plaza. We'll tap that, similar to what we did with the Chili's. It'll be a 4-inch combined service to support a sprinklered building and domestic services. Lighting within the plaza, very similar in nature. It's a Beacon Viper LED fixture, 3 total light poles to illuminate the site and provide adequate lighting. And the landscaping is pretty robust. We looked at kind of overplanting so that we eliminated lawn. So we were at that balance where there was small lawn areas. We chose to just over landscape to fit in character with the rest of the plaza. As you'll recall, when you come in off of the main plaza entrance, we have a very large landscaped area, heavily planted, that was recently done. So we wanted to keep in character, as this is going to be viewed as an entrance into the plaza, and that's how we wanted to develop it. The building architecture is over here on the right. Very similar materials that we have elsewhere in the plaza, and similar type of character of architecture. A mix of a natural stone, the sticky stone that you've seen elsewhere in the plaza, a thin brick, a red brick, and a light tone brick, and then ephes for the identification of those elements that identify that it's a multi-tenant building. I think that the earth tones and how this building is designed is similar in character. We didn't want it to be out of character with the rest of the architecture we have elsewhere in the plaza. Mike Montalto is our civil engineer, site engineer on the project, can answer any questions that you have relative to technical, stormwater, et cetera. But we did a stormwater management plan that is in the engineering report, and he can explain a little bit about drainage if you're interested about that. But other than that, so open it up for questions.
All right, so Bill, you want to start off?
Yeah, what kind of traffic volume do you anticipate you'll generate with this?
Under 100 trips. And traffic for this parcel was taken into consideration when we did the overall traffic study for the entire Baytown redevelopment. These
Okay.
frontage parcels were accommodated in our traffic study. And this prior building, as a restaurant use, probably had a higher intensity and higher trip generation than a retail use. The previous Beal Cafe was just shy of 5,000 square feet, I think about 4,900 square feet, that building. And as a restaurant use, would have had a higher trip generation than a 6,000 square foot retail building.
Okay.
So we probably actually see a reduction from what was in the background study for the traffic study.
Okay, thank you. For Verizon, what would your hours, is this going to be like a storefront you can go in and buy a phone, talk to a representative? It's
Yep.
going to be that type of a business?
Yep.
Okay, all right. I notice on the, I guess it would be the north side of the parcel, you've got a delivery lane or a delivery drive there. That could also be used for like a drive-through?
Likely not, but we would not preclude that. It was set up and designed so that it's a service lane. That's really what this is. They have rear service doors, and we didn't want their deliveries taking place in front occupying what is going to be two-way traffic, both for patrons that are visiting this store, but also for patrons that are coming into the plaza.
Okay. I have a question on the dumpster location and the use of the dumpsters. From the drawing I have, it looks they're down in the bottom corner of the parcel.
That's correct.
Is there one or two? It looks like there's two identified,
Yep.
but the one looks like it's off your parcel.
They are both on the property associated with the plaza. This dumpster was previously approved for Building P, which was part of the developer parcel.
Okay.
We are using that additional land that's left for the dumpster facilities for this parcel. There's common ownership, as you know. We operate the plaza. We would put an easement benefiting the 1930 parcel from the developer parcel to
Okay.
allow that.
All right, thanks. And snow storage, do you see any issues with that? You've got more than adequate parking, so I would imagine you'll probably eat up some parking spots for snow storage?
Yeah, for the smaller events, those pushes would probably be stored in the additional parking that's on the site. The big events, the same contractor that will be dealing with snow in the plaza would be dealing with snow here.
Okay.
And that would likely be pushed into larger areas that we have set aside for snow storage for the overall plaza.
Okay, all right, I'm all set.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, I had just a few questions. If I read this right, there's 2 handicap spots on the site. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's currently 2 shown there. We did get comments from PRC that we will be addressing.
Okay,
One of the comments that came from PRC was to put handicap on the east side of the building, as this is a 2-tenant building. They wanted
Right.
to see both sides having access to accessible parking, and we can accommodate that.
okay. Thank you. I missed that PRC comment. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Anyone in the audience care to comment on this application? Going once, going twice. Okay. Paul, thank you very much for your presentation. Nicely done. And we will call this hearing closed. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for coming.
You good?
I think we're good.
What's up?
And I will assume that he'll say something if we're not.
Let's go.
Let's go.
All right, so to recap, we had a public hearing on the proposed retail store, 1930 Empire Boulevard. As the applicant stated, one of the tenants is proposed for a Verizon retail store, and the second is to be determined. It's a 6,000 square foot building with several associated improvements. Parking provided, landscaping provided. I did receive some comments back from our landscape consultant, and I will quote, "The Verizon plan is a breath of fresh air." I take that as a
End
good
of quote?
comment. End of quote, end of
That was a
sentence.
quote from who?
Our landscape consultant,
Oh.
Bruce Hetzke. Bill, that was a question of ours too that you brought up about dumpster locations. Do you want to clarify anything on that for you?
It just seems, well, it's going to be multi-use, other tenants are going to use them in other buildings, so I guess it's okay, but I just thought it was odd.
Is
We
that
did
far
too.
away, or the fact that it's on a different
They're
parcel?
far away, they're at a different parcel, the access to them, you have to go onto other parcels for. But it's a long walk for somebody to carry stuff out too. I mean, it's at the end of the property.
Yeah.
You know what?
But
We're a fat society, and
I think we need the
you know, I
exercise.
think
don't
we
you?
all need the. I know I need the exercise. Maybe I'll get a job there.
I mean, it's not a showstopper by any means or anything
Taking
like
out
that. I
the
just thought it
garbage.
was odd the way it was.
Yeah.
Well, the one store, hopefully, that's very little waste. I can't imagine there's too much waste coming out of a Verizon store these days
It's
when
probably mostly recycled.
they show up and
Yeah.
put a
Oh,
tablet
yeah,
in
waste
front of you.
coming out is
Well, the
recycled.
thing-
Yeah, the dumpster.
The key thing that I heard from that was the easement,
Yeah.
Yep.
because it would bother me if they're planning on doing it on someone, even if they own the property, that things
Correct.
change.
That's correct.
But an easement,
And you never know when they're gonna sign a lease agreement with somebody else for a part of this property, but
Exactly.
the one thing that I see here that's kind of inconsistent with the documentation is, they're proposing this as a building with 2 leasehold spaces. Site plan says multiple tenants. The dumpster enclosure shows 2 containers. So, not unusual certainly for 2 tenants to share one waste receptacle and one recycle receptacle, but, you know, I think we need to be clear whether or not we're being asked to approve a building with 3 or more leasehold spaces or a building with 2 leasehold spaces.
It's a good
question would be, does that matter?
I think it does.
Why?
I think it changes a lot of dynamic. I think it changes traffic. I think it changes traffic flow, hours of operation, certainly the dumpster component, depending on who would go in there. I mean, I don't ever recall looking at a site plan. There's no demising line in this building, they're just showing the footprint of the building.
Floor plan.
So, but you look at the architectural plan, clearly there's 2 marquees.
Mhm.
I just think it's something that we should clarify. Should we proceed to advance this, I think we should clarify that.
Fair enough. I mean, failing that, I think I would approach it as the potential for at least 3 tenants. Just as a matter of course. You know, if it's a 6,000 square foot building, if you have Verizon taking up 3,000 square feet and you have 3,000 square feet left over, you know, if you have a hard time finding somebody to take all 3, do you take somebody that has 2,000 and another person that takes 1,000 or 1,500 square foot? I would just think that.
Also, did you read the engineer's report?
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of the fixture units for water consumption and drainage,
He was consistent with,
2?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that would be another thing, if they're talking about 3 leasehold spaces,
Near under a tenth, they have 2.
okay. Then you have, you know, additional toilet rooms, so that's additional
Mhm.
water supply, additional drainage.
Right.
So
Right.
what we wanted to pull up to help attempt to clear up that question. The applicant's letter of intent with this project in the second paragraph states two-tenant retail building. Does that help your question?
I think so.
Sorry for my sidebar conversation, but I was trying to remember where I saw it, and that's where I recalled seeing it.
That's not what gets approved, this is what gets approved, is my point.
Agreed, and we can clarify that note as they're revising the plans to have that detail fixed. Okay.
Calling out as a two-tenant retail building.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I was thinking too, that the type of use, let's say for the second tenant, how about if it's a coffee shop or a cafe?
Timberings.
That could change the whole dynamic on that site versus if it's just small retail.
Yeah.
Well, if it was a coffee shop, then they would need a special use permit, right?
GB, no.
They have the drive-through space.
Well, then I think we stay with their letter of intent.
Calling it out
But we
as
can,
retail.
As two.
But I think it's certainly something we'll communicate right back to the applicant with the result of this meeting, is to fix that note on the plan to switch it from multi-tenant to two-tenant, as just to be consistent with the letter of intent as you discussed.
They can always go to Chili's to get lunch.
Exactly.
And many other things in the plaza. Architecture, let's talk about the building design. How does the board feel about the materials proposed, shown in the elevation drawings, renderings, everything was provided, color elevation, color renderings. They described similar materials and tones that are used in the plaza now.
It's consistent.
I would agree with that as well. Any thoughts or concerns? Overall pleased?
I think it's nice.
Okay. Any concerns with lighting, or landscaping?
What's the view coming down the street on the north side? I'm wondering if the north side should have a little bit more than just look like the back of a building.
So if you're heading south on...
You're heading
Empire,
south on Empire Boulevard.
That's review.
Because it is skewed, yeah.
You want to see something to break that.
Is there
big
something that
wall
they
up?
could do to just a little bit?
Create
they
some
did a
shadow
decent-
lines.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Mike, do you have an aerial up on the property? Okay. So you do have the Midas Center, because as you're seeing this with the former Beal restaurant on the property, which is no longer there. So with the building that was on the south now moving to the north, probably a little more in line with the Midas Center. For reference. No other applications.
No, actually.
Oh, actually, it's
Look at
cited on
this.
there. It's probably half and half.
It's about the front of where Beale Street was.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. Oh, there's the vacant site.
So you're thinking we should ask the applicant to
Maybe consider,
propose something
Yeah.
that would provide some additional shadow lines and some architectural interest?
right, so as you're
It
heading
is
south, it
pretty
doesn't,
bland.
it's not obviously the back side
Right.
of the building.
Just a facade.
Right.
Yeah, we've done, like you said, shadow lines, false windows,
Yeah, they could put some,
some elements just to break up the colors,
Yeah.
kind
That's
of
about,
to fill in those spaces they've outlined. What else we've done? Landscaping, we did get Bruce's comments on that, all supportive of it.
What about parapet wall? If they're going to put any rooftop units on? I forgot to
they're
ask them
already,
that.
they're already there.
Are they in the back? Is that what I see?
No, you're seeing it there.
You can
So you
see,
think that brick facade is all the way around as the parapet?
Well,
So
you
you're
you
saying that
see
the,
that, you see that
the light line
Yeah,
is,
line.
Yeah.
the roof line.
ivory colored line is probably the line of the roof.
But we don't know that.
Well, they know that they have to design a
Okay.
building that shields. They have to provide a visual barrier for rooftop equipment, so.
Is that a requirement?
Yeah.
It's something I can clarify if the board would like.
Yeah. I've heard of that business tenant. I've heard that's a new retailer.
Tenant?
Tenant.
It's 2018, anything's possible.
They would never have to change the sign.
They wouldn't.
Freestyle jeans.
That's a sustainable sign program right there.
There you go.
So, based on what I'm hearing tonight,
They focus on renters.
based on what I'm hearing, they are going to the zoning board for one area variance for less setback to the northern property line. Like Paul said, it's a matter of 2 feet and change.
Small microwaves, you know, that kind of thing.
How would the board like to proceed? Typically, staff would be directed to draft an approval
I
resolution.
would say draft an approval resolution.
Okay.
Similar letter.
What about a letter to the ZBA?
You think it's needed for 2.3 feet? I mean,
Usually do.
we can send a letter.
I think that, I don't have a problem sending a letter to the ZBA
Let's send it.
if we want to send it.
That we support the setback variance.
Okay. So with that, then, we'd be tabling it tonight, but first we'll take a vote to send a letter to the ZBA. We can do that now, take a vote for that.
We want to move?
I'll move to send a letter to the ZBA.
I'll second.
Hetzke,
Aye.
Bastian,
Aye.
Canower.
Aye.
Oh, I just get Burton. Burton,
Aye.
sorry, thank you.
Yeah, he didn't recuse himself
I
from
know, I
this one.
totally forgot.
He's back in action. And then we will, it sounds like we'll table the application pending the revised plans that are expected with the responses to the PRC memo, some additional details about potentially enhancing the north side of the wall of the building for that southbound view shed, as you described, clarifying the roof-mounted units and the parapet wall, some detail about that, and pending a decision from the zoning board at its meeting. Actually, let me clarify that. The zoning board will actually be meeting in February about this application, so this will come back to the planning board at this month's work session in 2 weeks. So the zoning board would hear it in February, just to let the board know, but we have done approvals in the past where something could be granted with the condition for zoning board
Depending
approval.
upon-
And the easement for the access for the...
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, the dumpster
Yes,
easement.
I will include
Absolutely,
that. Thank
good
you.
catch. All right, you want
Try to
to
get
move
it.
So move the table and everything else Zach said.
You don't need
You
to
got a
repeat it.
second?
I'll second that.
Hetzke,
Aye.
Bastian,
Aye.
Burton,
Aye.
Canower.
Aye.
You want to be the stealth man tonight? No motions, no seconds.
I can't break his record. It's strong.
We're in a row.
It's a shutout.
With that, there are no other items to discuss.
All right. We will adjourn. Thanks everyone for coming. And tune in next time,
For a work session.
January 25th. Have a good night.